Okay, I'm just going to cover a few news items here before I get to Impact. There's been a bunch of changes to the roster in the last week. I guess the biggest news is that Awesome Kong has been given her release from the company, and that sucks for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to say this cripples the Knockout division, but it's definitely screwed now. And we talked about this on QCW Radio a few weeks ago about what would happen and what they would need to do for damage control if Kong left over this Bubba the Love Sponge situation. And the short version is, if Kong is really gone, then in my opinion, they need to get Sarah Del Rey in there to replace her, and they need to do it very quickly. But I don't think they will. I think it's become pretty obvious that the Knockout division is very, very low on Hogan and Bischoff's list of priorities. I don't think they care about it at all, to be honest. I mean, they're probably just going to kill the Knockout tag titles, and I don't think they'll even bother signing someone to replace Kong. I think they'll just continue on without her. And I would love for them to sign Death Ray to pick up the slack, but I'm not optimistic because I just don't think Hogan and Bischoff even care enough to bother fixing this problem. Also, Tracy Brooks has been released. You know, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I do feel bad for her, all things considered, but I mean, at this point, there wasn't really anything she could do that most of the other girls couldn't do better, so you can't really fault TNA on that one, I guess. Sean Morley. Sean Morley has been released. Thank you. Okay, they gave him a shot at Genesis, and he stunk up the place. He wants to wrestle in Mexico? Awesome. Let him go. Goodbye. Also, looks like Roxy is gone. Again. Rumors about this one started when someone noticed that TNA had taken her pictures off the website. Actually, her pictures were never added to the website when they brought her back in December, so at first I thought this was all just a big mix-up. But now it looks like she is in fact gone from the company, and that is just fucking ridiculous in my opinion. I mean, if Awesome Kong is leaving, then why the hell are you getting rid of another one of the women who is both very over and a good worker? Especially when you already had a ready-made program for her as soon as she was healed up. That makes no damn sense at all. Plus, I just think it's just incredibly classless and unprofessional of any wrestling company to cut a worker when they're injured. I mean, I know, yeah, sometimes it's unavoidable, but this was not one of those times. But it happened, it sucks, and we're just going to have to live with it. So, tweet how pissed off you are about this to Dixie and Bischoff. Send them Facebook messages, whatever. I don't think it'll make a difference, but do it anyway. And finally, looks like Rob Van Dam has signed with TNA officially. I guess most people expect him to debut on the first Monday show. Honestly, I don't really like this. I mean, Van Dam has basically said that he'd only consider signing with TNA if they offered him big money and a light schedule. So clearly his passion isn't what it used to be. He's just in it for the money. And if that's his attitude, then is he a guy that you really want to be in business with? I don't even know why TNA thinks they need more star power at this point. They have legitimate star power. Star power is not the problem. I mean, their problem is that they don't have enough screen time available to feature all these people. And the roster is so damn huge at this point that half of them are sitting on the bench right now, and you want to sign more guys on top of that? How are you going to fit them into the show? I don't want to see Van Dam if he's going to be taking a spot away from Amazing Red or the Motor City Machine Guns or any of the originals who worked their asses off to get their spot only to have one of Hogan's buddies waltz in off the street and steal it away. So I guess that's all the news items. Anyway, as for Impact, I'm just going to try to keep this short because honestly, I'm so frustrated I really don't want to talk about Impact that much right now. Basically, this was just a 2-hour hype show for the March 8th debut on Monday nights. In that sense, it was fine. You know, they made sure everybody knew about it. The problem is they spent the entire show hyping up one match. Abyss and Hogan versus AJ and Flair. And that was it. That was really the only thing they promoted all night. Well, that's all well and good, but what if people don't want to see that match? Like me, I don't want to see that match. I don't want to see Hogan wrestling. I got sick of that in WCW. I don't want to see Flair wrestling for all the reasons I stated last week. And they put a ridiculous amount of focus on this. Segment after segment after segment of people telling Hulk, "Oh, Hulk, you're too old, you're too broken down and beat up. Think about your health. You don't want to be in a wheelchair. Please don't do it, Hulk. Please don't do it." And each one was more redundant than the one that came before it. Look, I understand that you want to hype the hell out of this match, but there is such a thing as overkill. Just the one segment of Abyss confronting Hogan backstage was all you really needed, especially since that one skit was longer than like half the wrestling matches on this show. There are people besides Hogan and Bischoff in this company that need some screen time too, and no, I'm not talking about Jarrett and Foley. Do we really need to see multiple skits of Jeff Jarrett mopping the bathroom? Do we really need to see not one, but 3 skits of Mick Foley going to charm school? Is this necessary? Is this what you think draws? Is it absolutely imperative that we see this stuff? Look, Will Smith is one of the biggest movie stars in the world, one of the biggest proven box office draws in show business. But if somebody made a 3-hour movie that was nothing but Will Smith sitting on a toilet and scratching his ass, do you think that movie would make money? Just because there's a quote-unquote named star on the screen does not mean people are going to stick around and watch. The star has to be doing something interesting. Mick Foley going to charm school is not interesting. It's not entertaining. It's stupid. It's boring. It's pointless. If you absolutely had to do this, fine. I could suffer through one of these skits. But why do you need 3? Why do you need 3 when one gets the point across just fine? There are other things that need to be addressed on this show, like Destination X, for example. At this point, you might as well just cancel Destination X altogether, because I think TNA may have forgotten this pay-per-view even exists. 2 weeks in a row, and the only hype this pay-per-view has gotten is Mike Tenay mentioning in passing that there's going to be an Ultimate X match on it. And since they haven't said anything about people actually having qualifying matches to earn a spot in the match, then I'm guessing it's just going to be a bunch of random people in a completely random match that won't mean anything. I mean, I don't care if they're going to be fighting for an X Division title shot. Why should we care about people trying to win the X Division title when the title itself means nothing right now? Why should we care about that title when the champion just got jobbed out to Rob Terry in 60 seconds? Do you think anyone's going to order Destination X to see Doug Williams defend the X Division title after that? Doug Williams is barely on TV most weeks, and when he finally does get some screen time, you have one of the worst workers in the company make him look like the world's biggest chump. Now, the rating for this show was a 1.1. And according to the quarter hours, the ratings started out in the 1.3s and then went steadily downward all night, which is a pretty good indicator that fans are bored with the Hogan, Bischoff, Jarrett, Foley crap. And the format of this show was the same one they've been doing for ages. Lots of talking, lots of promos, lots of video packages, backstage segments, and as little wrestling as possible. This formula has proven by now that it does not work. So what I don't understand, for the life of me, is that if this formula is not getting you ratings, why the hell do you continue to book the show this way? Why not try something different for once? Why not try having longer matches that actually mean something? Focusing on fewer storylines, cutting out all the redundant bullshit, stopping the overexposure of Hogan and Bischoff and Jarrett and Foley, and giving some meaningful screen time to people who actually need it. I mean, sure, it might not work, but what you're doing right now sure as hell isn't working. So you might as well give it a shot. You got nothing to lose. So I'll tell you what, TNA, you work on that, and I'll get back to you.